It's a world premiere on 610 CKTV.
That's awesome.
No, it's not actually.
You played it.
I gave you the world premiere.
That was, what, 3 years ago?
I shouldn't be talking.
Yeah, what did we say?
Huh?
What did we say?
About what?
Zip it.
Oh yeah, sorry.
You know that's not going to happen.
I know. Why did I agree? It's like herding cats.
That's like...
35 minutes after 11 o'clock. This is Mental Health Week. As we said earlier, talking to Laura Yip and her sister's tragic dealing with addiction and mental health. Belle has made a commitment to be part of the conversation and to end the stigma surrounding mental illness. So we have Let's Talk Day, but we need to do it more than just one day. And all the money we raise goes to local mental health care initiatives, which I think is fantastic. But we need to have this conversation more than just once. We need to have this conversation repeatedly. And we need companies, not just ourselves, but we need organizations and individuals not only to talk about it, but to take action, to make sure that we end the stigma surrounding mental health, to make sure that we have resources in place so individuals who require them get them, so that we can end waiting lists or that we can provide the proper services. So, and as I said before, if you broke your leg or I have needed therapy numerous times on various body parts and I feel there is zero stigma involving getting therapy for your knee, to go to physiotherapy, everyone is like, absolutely, you should go to physiotherapy, and would look at you if you didn't go to physiotherapy like, are you insane? Are you crazy? Is there something mentally wrong with you for not getting physiotherapy? Yeah, when we talk about mental therapy, shh. Oh my gosh, he's going to get therapy. I didn't know. Oh, woohoo, crazy. You know, I didn't know that about that. We have a stigma involving mental therapy. We have a stigma involving mental health. And so during Mental Health Week, let's try to do something that can end the stigma and not only create conversation, but realize that what you or a loved one is going through, you are not alone in this, and let's try to get you the help, the resources, the foundation that you require to either get back on your feet or get back to doing what you do. Aaron Berger joins me in studio. Very talented, so I'm told, although I've listened to your music before and I can vouch for it. Very talented local musician, joining me in studio with guitar. Only the camp man has brought his guitar in as well. So you're the second person to have your guitar in. Great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Tommy. Thank you very much for having me on today.
All right, let's start with your background. Grew up in Niagara?
That's right. I grew up in Niagara Falls, actually, and I have to say I grew up in Chippewa. And if I said I grew up in Niagara Falls, then people from Chippewa would definitely take offense with that.
We're still very parochial about even the neighborhoods here. Forget one Niagara. I'm not from Niagara Falls. I'm from Chippewa. I'm from Ridgeway. I'm from Port Dalhousie. How many times I heard I'm from Meriton? So in London, it's the same as in London. You're not from London. You're from Byron. You're from Oak Ridge. You're from Stony Brook. You're in East. So went to high school in Niagara Falls?
That's right. I went to high school at St. Michael's High School in the Falls.
When did you get interested in music?
That would have been while I was in high school. I was about maybe 16 or so, and I told my dad that I wanted to learn how to play guitar. So he bought me my first guitar. And then I had friends, Brandon Agnew, C.D. Onofrio, Nathaniel Gould, who, some of my closest friends and musical collaborators still now. And really I learned mostly from them and being exposed to other people who were writing songs and discovering music at that time.
It's amazing that when we think of people who are talented, that they began at 4 or 5, but a lot of musicians, it's not until high school. What was it? Was there something about it? It's like, did you always want to learn to play guitar, or just something happened? Did you have an epiphany? What about the guitar drew you and said, I want to play the guitar?
Well, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't notice the kind of effect or attention that it generated for some other gentleman who had this skill and capacity. So perhaps that was part of it.
Perhaps the underlying factor, again, it comes down to men. Often it deals with what sort of attention the opposite sex gives you.
And then so certainly that was part of it. And then I guess another part of it was just about self-expression, having an ability and an outlet that way, and being very curious to explore that. But I've always loved music, and my mom played music all the time when we were growing up. Leonard Cohen, Phantom of the Opera, she always had music on in the house, and she sang a lot, my mom did. And then I was in the church choir when I was around 10. My sister Katie was in the choir as well, and my sister Laura at some point, so that was part of where my love of singing was, facilitated as well, would be in the church.
When you were first starting to play guitar, and obviously when people start out, they copy someone or they see someone who's playing the guitar and they want to emulate them, but eventually you can't just play cover songs your entire career.
Yeah.
When did you start writing your own music?
So it was very close to around the same time as when I started playing music.
You always wanted to write your own music?
I think a lot of that just was the good fortune of being part of a circle of musicians, like I said, with C.D. Onofrio, where he was starting to write songs at that time and was very prolific as a songwriter. And Nathaniel Gould as well, and Brandon Agnew, they all were writing original songs. So it wasn't just that I was around musicians, it's that I was around musicians who were writing their own songs as well.
And did you bounce songs or ideas or snippets off each other? And I imagine with guys of a certain age, it's not always the most positive, but it can be. But would they tell you right away, "Oh, dude, come on, that's terrible"? "Oh, I love that." It can be all or nothing sometimes with guys of that age.
Yeah, so there was a kind of atmosphere of mutual support, which I think was really important, because if they had been more hasty that way, I might have been a lot more reticent to move forward with trying to do it. But I think actually the first song that I ever wrote, original song, was a collaboration between myself and C.D. Onofrio, and it was called The Path You Take, and writing that song was very special.
Okay. Have you ever seen Spinal Tap?
I have seen Spinal Tap, yeah.
So there's a scene in Spinal Tap where they talk about, I was 9 and you were 10, and we wrote a song together. I'm going to cry, cry, cry all the way home, all the way home, all the way home. Do you remember the first song you wrote?
Not really, no.
Oh,
I don't,
okay,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, if you could play, because obviously with any musician and with any artist, it's an evolution, though. That I mean, from what you started out with, it's amazing when you look back. You are probably, for me, on the outside, I notice how talented you are, but on the inside, how much you've probably evolved to yourself as an artist.
Yeah, it's amazing that kind of journey that you go on with. I had a friend, Fede, who said that there's no difference between your spiritual path and your creative path, that they're one and the same. And I think it's a true thing where, as you explore as an artist and as a person, where there is a journey of kind of self-discovery that you go on, and the art that you create and the experiences that you have, they coalesce into who you are as a person, and then that gets reflected through the art that you create.
So the reason why you're in studio today, our mutual friend Jim Fannon has as much respect for you, I think, than he does for anyone else, and he loves your work. But you've struggled in the past. And you struggled with mental health, and you struggled with your own state of mind. When did that first start to manifest itself?
It first started to manifest itself when I was 25 years old, and I was really riding high. I was a straight A student at Brock, a teacher's assistant there. I was popular and had lots of friends.
And you're still doing music. Are you performing?
I'm playing in a band that has a great local following at the time. So, really, the crack that happened was my brother mentioned that my Nana's health wasn't good, and he suggested that I go and visit her. And when I went to visit her, she died suddenly. So, not being steeped in any teachings or understanding around grief, I didn't know how to carry this at all. And how it manifested was in me starting to wake up in the middle of the night, and then eventually not being able to sleep at all. And this insomnia went on literally for months. So my life unraveled, and I failed out of school. My girlfriend broke up with me, moved back to my parents' house, and ended up in the psychiatric ward of GNGH Hospital in the Falls, and eventually had a failed suicide attempt at the brink of Niagara Falls, where my life was saved by my mother, who kept me. I crashed into her and she kept me from being able to run and jump over the barrier there at the falls.
The moments before you attempted to end your life, do you recall what was going through your head? Do you recall what were you thinking as you thought, this is my best way out?
Well, I felt a huge sense of adrenaline, definitely. Like, it felt like my body was pumping full of adrenaline. And it was also a feeling of, I don't know, it felt like I was driven somehow by forces that I don't understand, that I was compelled to go to that place. And then very soon afterwards, it felt like a bad dream that I was waking up from, or a hallucination, something like that, as far as the clarity of how my life was entwined and connected to other people, including my families, because prior to this I had been obsessed with the idea that I was separate in the world, and this caused so much pain because I couldn't have compassion for my family and what they were going through, because the more that I focused on myself, the more alienated I became and the more true that became. So it showed kind of the power of the stories that we tell about ourselves and the world.
How did your mother know you were there?
So there's no way to know that exactly. She went there intuitively.
Really?
So she was phoned by the head nurse of the hospital, who was screaming and crying on the phone.
So you were in GNGH, you're in the psych unit, you check yourself out or just walk away?
No, I was locked in a 24-hour suicide watch, and I convinced one of the staff to take me for a walk outside, and saw a chance and ran.
Oh my gosh. And your mother just happened...
So she happened to be at home at the time when they called, and intuitively, when she was told that I had left, she said, he's going to Niagara Falls, and she drove there. It was raining so hard she couldn't even see where she was going, and then stopped a boy who was working for the Parks Commission saying, I need your help, my son's coming to try and jump in the falls. And then literally seconds later, she said, there he is, and I crashed into her.
What happened in the immediate moments after that? Were you taken back to GNGH?
Yeah, in the immediate moments after, I was handcuffed by the police who showed up, and then when no one was watching, I tried to run again and jump over the guardrail and tripped and fell. This time several police officers restrained me. One of them stepped hard on my back, and then I was taken back, wheeled back in a wheelchair into the psychiatric ward, and my mom showed up, very much grief-stricken, screaming and crying, and it really did pierce my heart seeing her in that way, because she was acting as though she had seen me die, or how I imagined she would have responded that way. And that was the first time in months that I had actually gotten a good night's sleep.
Really? And then after that, did that change? Did your outlook change quickly thereafter?
Well, there was a time immediately after this where I didn't know how to proceed.
Okay.
So it was as though I had convinced myself that I was on my way towards not being alive anymore, that I needed to die. And then surviving this experience, there was a time where, okay, I'm alive, now what? And then it was really receiving that love and support of my family and friends, letting that in. Like, it had been there the whole time, but letting it in, it started to shift things for me. And then also being able to experience a lot of the emotions that I had been blocking out. And music was a huge part of my recovery. So at the beginning of being in the hospital, I couldn't have my guitar out of the concern of me, harming myself.
Right.
And then by the end of me being in the hospital, it had turned into a very celebratory, reverent atmosphere where I had friends who were coming in to jam with me. And it was amazing to the way that the kind of music that came out of that. And it was a very good, amazing medicine as far as helping me to reconnect with other people and to be able to express myself, as far as transforming some of that pain and that hurt into beauty making, into song, into something creative.
49 minutes after 11 o'clock. So we got to take a quick break. Aaron Berger, with his music, will take us out right now, playing a little on his guitar. But we'll come back, talk a little bit more about Aaron Berger, survived a suicide attempt, and how it's changed his life. This is Mental Health Week, and we'll be back with more with Aaron Berger right after this.
So this song is called Ghosts in These Walls, and it was written by C.D. Onofrio, and I'd like to dedicate this song to him. Fine tonight, but it's been so and I've been getting back to habits that make winter slow. And we all know in this cold nothing grows in our souls, and it's harder alone. So I thank God I found my friends again. I thank God I found my friends again. 'Cause there's nothing else that could help, no medicine for my depression. I can't move on, 'cause there's ghosts in these walls, and I've been guilty of their judgments long after the falls. And we all know in this town something wrong's going down, but we just turn away. We all know in this cold nothing grows in our souls, and it's harder alone. So I thank God I found my friends again. I thank God I found my friends again. 'Cause there's nothing else that could help, no medicine for my depression. Town, something wrong's going down.
Awesome, dude. Thank you. All right, so is our time, joined in studio by Aaron Berger, not only providing commentary, also providing music, something done once before in this program. So what are you doing with your story? What are you have, I mean, that is, first of all, thank you very much, because that is a very raw story for you to be able to share with people, strangers. I'm essentially a stranger, and everyone in the audience is a stranger. For you to be able to share that story with strangers is, to me, truly remarkable. What are you doing with this story, and what are you hoping for that you can provide to other people?
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story and speak to it. And I guess part of my understanding in wrestling with how to move forward from this experience was going, okay, so why did I survive? Why was my life spared? And part of how I came to understand that was that it's through service. that I owe some kind of debt, and part of kind of paying that unpayable debt that I feel that I carry towards my family and my friends, all the people that supported me through this experience, and whatever force kept me alive, is that there's a service that I need to do as far as carrying this story. And so what I'm doing now is I'm doing speaking engagements at schools with different organizations, with conferences, and I've made this story into a play called Back from the Brink, and it weaves together songs and stories from this experience. And I think the most important thing that I'm hoping to do with it is let people know that no matter what they experience, that they're not alone in that. I'm also advocating for people to seek out help, because therapy was a big part of my recovery process.
Do we have enough help available now?
I think no. There's not nearly enough resources, but also there's so many different things to address. Like, therapy was very helpful for me, but it's limited as well, because therapy, the focus is very much on the individual. So the larger cultural issues that are going to bring a person into therapy, often they remain unchanged afterwards.
They provide a barrier to people getting in there.
Well, they can, absolutely, but the focus very much in therapy is on the individual, and there's a lot of cultural issues and cultural problems that are bringing people into therapy in the first place.
For people who want more information, want to hear more of your music, want to hear more about your story, where's the best place they should go?
The best place they should go is aaronberger.net. So that's probably the AARONBERGER.net. So there's a short video there introducing a bit of my personal story and the work I'm doing now with schools. My music is available to download and listen to there as well for free.
Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's Mental Health Week, and as we said, our organization has taken initiative on Let's Talk, but this is something that, hey, it's not just one day. Bell Let's Talk Day is one day, but we need to have this conversation throughout the year for people to realize how important it is. So thanks for coming in. What's the song we're hearing right now? Let It Roll! It's playing right now from Aaron Berger. Appreciate it. Thanks to you and your posse, entourage. What do you call the guy behind me? Just your flunky? Your
what I call him is my praise master. He knows how to celebrate life, and I know he's standing in my corner, which counts for a lot.
Praise master. I like that. Aaron Berger. Coming up next in London, it is Ask the Experts in Niagara. We'll talk to Jamie Alton. London, I'll be there tonight. That's right. I'll be in your town tonight. Game 1. Ice Dogs taking on the Londonites at the Budweiser Gardens. And also coming up after 12 o'clock, we'll talk to Logan Stutz. We're going to talk to Logan Stutz from the Niagara River Lions. We have another playoff series going on. Windsor Express versus the Niagara River Lions. Friday is the home game for that. Thanks again to Aaron Berger. News is next.
Nice job, boys.
My producer in London, Ryan, who runs the board, great guy. Tom, what a story. That bit about his mother stopping him, that is incredible. I wish him all the best, Ryan.
Right on.
You couldn't hear that from a nicer guy. Do you know